Good evening and welcome to the Norwood Trails Advisory Committee meeting of Tuesday, September 22nd, 2020. All of our meetings are luckily taped and able to be viewed on Norwood Community Media. Thanks, NCM. We also do take minutes. Our agendas are posted through the clerk's office. And people can provide feedback excuse me, to us by means of an email to trails@norwoodma.gov. We are meeting remotely tonight, as has been the case for months. We're not quite tired of it, but my technical skills are still being honed. By way of a roll call, I'm going to just work my way around the screen. If I call your name, if you wouldn't mind, if you could just give a yo or here or I or something. Jerry Miller.
Aye.
Kate Smith.
Here.
Sue Bartlett.
Yep.
Brian Palmetier.
Here.
Craig Austin.
Here.
Patty Austin.
Here.
And Fran Rush.
Here.
Hello. And I'm Joe Greeley. Lee Leach is attempting to dial in. I think he might be back in a couple of minutes. We did distribute an agenda, and we're going to jump right into it. Lee is, I'll speak for Lee in his temporary absence, but because he has been busy hiking, hiking the entire Appalachian Trail, we are slightly behind in our minute completions. So we're now, we are keeping track of it. We're now 3 meetings behind. We do, in addition to taking minutes, all of our meetings, however, are taped, as I said, and able to be viewed on Norwood Community Media on demand, and they are scheduled throughout. I'm sure if you grabbed a box of popcorn and a drink of your choice, you could enjoy our meetings at any given time. I will just for those of you that haven't met Kate Smith. Kate joined us a couple of meetings ago. Thank you, Kate. Thanks. Jerry Miller has been working on his tan and has taken a little bit of a time off. Among other things, Jerry has managed and directed the summer Mustang food pantry, which literally provided food to hundreds, if not thousands, of people in the town of Norwood. So thank you, Jerry. Thank you for your service. Fran Rush has been honing her golf game. Hopefully she's now a scratch golfer. Fran, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good to have you. I'm going to, excuse me, roll right into the, I'm going to just jockey things around a little bit. The group went on a exploration on this past Saturday, the 19th of September. Fran and Sue, I think you might be the only 2 that were on the walk, who were on the call. Brian Palmetier, sorry.
That was on the walk.
Good, thank you. Maybe Sue, if you wouldn't mind, if you could kick us off and just start talking about that experience.
Sure. Did you want to make me presenter? I could flip through some photos while I'm doing it.
Yeah, I think I can.
Oh, and if there's a place, if you got a Dropbox or something where I can put things for you, or should I put it in my Dropbox? And I took some photos on Saturday too, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
Brian, I'll email you that address. Okay.
Okay.
But thanks.
Great.
Thanks for doing that.
And Sue, I tracked it. I don't know if you did the GPS.
I tried to, and then I failed at it though. So I actually, yeah, if you had a tracking, that would be great.
Okay. Yep. I can.
Okay. I don't know if people, can you see the pictures?
Yeah. Yes, there we go.
Yep.
Pick center stage.
Uh-oh, I don't like my profile there.
All right, I'll just kind of flip through as they talk. So we started out, we just gathered at the end of Meadow Street, just went over a few like social distancing, masking kind of rules and stuff. And then we started out. It was a good group, 14 people. Why isn't this going to the, so we started out on the trail. It was a beautiful day, lots of sunshine, and Vic let us down. He said that, you know, described the 3 different paths that we could take. So we kind of we hit every path and went down all the different roads. When got to like the water that goes under 95, we stopped and people took a look at some of the different sites along the way, and Vic gave us a little bit of background on the area. So I don't know if Fran, do you want to comment on some of it? This is like going down by the water.
Yeah, I thought the first path we took, which paralleled the back of Kofsky Farm, was interesting. It had a lot of grass, and I think it was less scrub that you saw. I think a lot of cedar trees. It was a little bit different than any other path that we've taken in Norwood, I think. Yeah, and then we ended up more in a denser wooded area by the Neponset River. That's sort of the dead end.
Yeah, that's like the dead end of one of the trails. And then at one point we there were a lot of like deer hunting stands and things we noticed throughout the thing. I don't know if that was like, some of them were like blind, some of them were up high built into the trees. This is the whole group. Actually, we stopped for one picture. And we kind of just like, you know, mixed and mashed as we went through the different trails. But yeah, there were some deer hunter type blinds and things as we went too, which were interesting. Here's the more open area as we were coming back, the wider trail.
I thought that was pretty, the way the light came into that area too. So you did get some sun.
Yeah, there was a lot of pretty, like there was a lot of the sun coming through the trees. It wasn't like really dense trees above. There was a lot of sunlight coming through. This was actually one of the deer stands, if you can see it right there in the tree, just a little. This one's like a makeshift one where it was just a small, I guess you'd have to climb up to it to really get to it. This is one that was more intricate. There was like a metal ladder that goes up, and there's Vic climbing up to it. But so it was like, there was like 2 or 3 of them at least that were in the area. So just some more pictures of us on the trails. There was like kind of back and forth of heading down to the dead end of the trail and then coming back. So and then we just stop, and Vic would give us a little bit of kind of a placement of where we were in relation to like 95 and different things. But a lot of the trails were like this, like really beautiful, like on either side of us. I don't know, Brian, did you have any other thoughts on everything?
Well, I did get a picture of each of the deer stands that I saw. There were a couple of them that were like the white chair that was stuck behind some brush. And it is clearly marked at the entrance to the trail and a couple of places where there's a sign that says this is municipal land and hunting is prohibited. But some of these deer stands, there's one that was particularly rusted with a big ladder lashed to a tree, and it looks like it's been there a while. It even says police take notice on the sign. So maybe we can, you know, at one of our cleanups, maybe we can rid the place of some of these. I don't know what's involved though.
Yeah, so basically, in one of the other points Vic made was that a lot of times in the wet, when it's wet, there's like limited access to this area. You can see when we got to the water how low the water line is in this little pond inside, where like right up above is where the water it usually is, but it was very low. And so I guess that was what gained us access to all the different trails, because Vic had said sometimes when the water's high that you don't have access to everything.
Vic also mentioned that there was that part where we saw that you showed a picture earlier of the dead end, that there's a way to connect that to another trail, and there were a couple of places like that. So I thought that if you remember specifically what he was talking about, I know one I think was across the way is Canton, but he was talking about one of our trails on our side.
Yeah.
over the airport.
I think we got pretty close to the airport too at one point, I think, right?
Yep. When I did look at the GPS afterwards, when we walked, the first trail where it ended, we really weren't too far away from the second trail that we took. So I don't know if there's water in between or wet area, but we could have connected it maybe with a machete. But
Okay. And well, that's great. Thank you. This is all just so people know, this whole area at the end of Meadow Street, it runs from the end of Meadow all the way over to the Neponset River and beyond. But it's all conservation, Norwood conservation land. So access is restricted. Certainly there's no hunting allowed unless it's by special permit. And I think the only way that there would be a special permit is in the case of overpopulation of deer and culling the herd, but that would only be by, as I said, special permit. We don't have, not only do we, the Trails Committee, not have authorization, but we wouldn't do that anyway to come out and do any trail clearing or anything else unless it was an approved event in conjunction with the Conservation Commission. But it sounds like, just looking at some of these pictures, it really sounds, when I've been down there, I've only gone down the path from the parking area, like directly into the woods. I've never taken that right towards 95. It looks like you went. So I definitely, I'm sorry I missed this past weekend, but it looks like it would definitely be, there's definitely potential there for a real trail, looks like. I'll ask Fran and Sue.
it was pretty wide. Yeah. It was wide and clear.
And there was one, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, we did see some deer sign, like we were looking along the trail of, places where hooves had, made marks on the roots and stuff, so that it looks like they're helping us keep the trail blazed.
Okay. All right, great. I will. All right. So that's
Okay,
great. And could
Yeah, I was
could
gonna
we
say
go?
we did a total of 2 miles the back and forth on the 3 trails.
Yeah. You can see how
Okay.
much land is, how much like green space is in that whole area too by looking at this map. It's like amazing.
Cool. I'm sorry. Did you have a map up there, or?
I have
Oh,
a map,
that
not where we
one.
walked. It's just a general map of the area, like shows the airport and 95, and the whole area that's green is kind of the wetlands.
Okay.
Hey, Joe,
Yes, Jerry.
I happened to have dinner with Vic and Ernie and the respective spouses the other night, and we were talking about, the walk, because neither I couldn't go. We were down the Cape, and Ernie couldn't go, but that's his backyard, and so he was really, involved with, talking to Vic about what the trails that they saw. And he was sort of describing everything that they went to and what they possibly, where they could lead. So he really sorely missed that. I'm sure he's going to try to do the next one if we go back down there, because he really is a good source, because that's where he grew up. He knows all those trails.
Okay. All right. Excuse me. I think I've been in there 3 times, and I have that fear of missing out, but I think I've definitely missed the good side, the good trail myself. So we will have to put it back on the calendar. Let me ask you. I think somebody said there were 14 or 15 people in attendance, including us.
Yep.
So how was parking an issue, or access, or any of that sort of logistic stuff?
Not really. I mean, if you look right here, I'm zooming in kind of where Meadow Street met Fortune Drive. Mostly people parked. I actually parked at the Prescott and walked down. It was like 0.4 mile walk from the Prescott. You just had to cross Neponset, but there was plenty of like parking here at the end of Meadow on the side and Fortune Drive. This actually is this lot that's right here is actually pretty much an open lot, so everyone kind of parked along this edge and then a little bit on Meadow Street as well. So.
Okay, all right. That empty lot right at the mouth, and Fran, I'm sure you know this, but that's town property as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
It was supposed to be a playground at one point.
Ah. One of Jerry's future accomplishments waiting to happen.
Ex-future accomplishments.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. Okay. All right. No, that's great. Thank you all for going. I'm sure at one point we do. This is Meadow Street is kind of further down the list as far as potential sites for us. But still, what you saw is really untouched. It's definitely not Hennessy. It's definitely not Shattuck. The parking and the fact that I never, before joining the Trails Committee, I never knew the area existed. And I'm sure a lot of people are in that same boat. The future of Kofsky Farm will certainly dictate where this property goes as far as potential anything but potential trail land. So, but that's great. Thank you, all three of you, for weighing in on the trip.
there was this wire, like you could see the wire here that was like the border between the path and the farm land that they had separated.
Okay. I did hear at some point recently, and I think within the last year, they actually mapped out and surveyed and flagged the Kofsky Farm property versus all other property. So it has recently been delineated as far as the property lines.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
as far as I know, is that the last animal farm in town? The last farm with I mean, there's a couple of chickens coops I know in certain neighborhoods, but do we have any other farmland in Norwood?
That I did hear that is the last working farm in Norwood. So the future alternatives are there's only a couple of different directions that property could go in. Open space would be a good one, but it remains to be seen. So note to the community, feel free if you have any desire to put your stamp on some recommendation for what to do with Kofsky Farm. You could email the selectmen. I'm sure they'd love to hear from you.
It was on the master plan years ago to purchase as open space.
Yeah, and it still is actually. There's even if the town purchased it as open space, or the Kofsky family agreed to put a conservation restriction on it, it could remain as accessible to the public. Obviously, if there's a plan B or C, could be a major housing development, so that would obviously put a damper on things. It is a beautiful part of town, and what you've seen is the connection to the Neponset, and that could, if you use your imagination, a couple of well-placed bridges across the Neponset, we could certainly keep going up until University Ave. So, okay, great, thank you. Anybody else out and about? I think Craig, you had submitted a couple of trail reports.
Yep, we went on a couple of walks in town that included some town properties. I submitted two, one to Endine one for Endine, and one for Father Mac. We briefly went through two others, Shattuck and the other side of Father Mac. Keep tripping on that. The light department right of way there.
Yep.
Didn't go that far, although we did see turkeys that way. Yeah, the Father Mac trip was on the 3rd of September, and ending was the 7th. All
Okay.
pleasant walks. One was in the morning. It was kind of cloudy, almost sprinkling. In general, the trails are in good condition everywhere. It's, we're in the midst of a drought, so there's really no water on the trails. There's no mud. Even the really wet area in Endine, that's where they usually have those shipping, those pallets. It's fairly dry right now.
Okay, great.
Did I add anything? No. So in general, in pretty good shape. We know about the signage. But in general, look like maintenance is happening. The grass is being cut along the trails. They're easy to follow. I didn't go into the wetlands on the Father Mac side, so I don't know the condition of the trail in through the wetlands.
Okay. And when you were out, did you come across any other like-minded individuals using the trails?
No, not really. It
Okay.
was pretty desolate of people when we went.
Okay.
We saw a lot of people in the pickleball courts. And the Father Mac said we went through and went along the senior center to Prospect Street. But all along the way, we could see that well, I guess were they former tennis courts or basketball courts?
Both.
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they were full with this. It looks sort of like a tennis court, but it's different dimensions and marked a little differently. So
Well, old people tennis.
yeah.
Luckily, none of them are listening right now when we use that description. Great.
Probably would agree.
Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you. Anybody else have anything to offer? So did you want to talk about Blue Hills, or you're good?
Oh, yeah. Do you want me to talk about that now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Please.
so I know Joe had sent out that link to the Friends of the Blue Hills had a work day on September 12th, I think it was, and they had it was very limited because of social distancing and all that, but I was able to sign up, and Joe did it too, so we had like an opportunity to go to the trail and do some work, and they ended up putting us on this was just the signpost, but they ended up putting us on a project to replace one of the water bars. Like Blue Hills, with the hill, the water comes down the path and erodes the path. So what they had is like these water bars that will divert water from the path off to the side. And I guess 15 to 20 years ago, they put in some water bars that were made of wood, like logs, and they had, in that amount of time, had since degraded enough that needed to be replaced. So the project we worked on was digging up the old wooden log water bar, and we were going to replace it with rocks and dirt and dig the culvert in front. So I'll just flip through some of the pictures. This was, we had a pickaxe. This was another Joe that was working on digging out the old log that was in the former water bar there. And there you can see him digging it out. Once he got it up, you could see that it was just an old rotted log that was in the path. As the water would come down, it would hit the log and then divert off to the side. So he dug that up, and then we started collecting rocks. So it was kind of, that was hard work dragging the rocks down from up on the hill, but we got them down and then placed them in the culvert where the log used to be, getting them all in there and then covering it with dirt. And that became the new path to divert the water off the trail. It was kind of interesting to think about it, because and then we'll probably have to bring that technology back to Norwood and some trails that if we have any kind of erosion from hills, that it's a great device to kind of keep the trail from washing out. So it's kind of like this is, and so once you got all the rocks and we covered it with dirt and had the little culvert in the beginning, so the water would all go off to the side. So that was our project a couple Saturdays ago. Just very interesting project. So.
Yep. Thanks. The gentleman who coordinated that, he manages the volunteer days. He said that there were upwards of almost 200 of these water bars throughout the Blue Hills area. And it requires almost constant maintenance, because there's always one that's either rotting out, or you can see maybe from that picture right there, there's a trough like up trail on the incline side, and the water catches in the trough, and the rocks or the wood or whatever the block, the dam is, it basically streams the water down at a perpendicular angle off the trail, so the water doesn't go travel further down the trail. The tricky part of it is obviously there are people on foot, runners, horseback, bike, etc. that you can't just make these rocks sticking up in the air like some castle moat or something. They have to not only be functional but also be safe and kind of well placed rocks. So, and as Sue said, it's always interesting to go see what they do in other properties in other towns or areas, because we can definitely see, we don't have a lot of hills here in Norwood, but if you think of the even just the trail coming off the back side of the landfill, that would be a good place for one of these water bars, that just to make sure that trail doesn't get washed out. Craig and Patty, you mentioned they won those couple of areas over in Endine that frequently flood. So there are a couple of areas over there that we could use some of this technology for as well. Every time I go over to the Blue Hills, I'm always learning something. So it's definitely a good exercise. Not only is it a good way to give back to that reservation property, and they really they rely heavily on volunteers, but it's a good way for us to take ideas back home. And we will definitely, if you think of most of the land that we've got in town, it's mostly flat property, but as we develop something like University Ave, the conservation land at University Ave, there are a lot of hills that once we get rolling there with any kind of trail work, we'll definitely have to use some of these techniques. So that was good. Thanks, Sue.
Okay.
They did in fact invite people other than people named Joe. So just for the record. So, and you, did you have a picture, Sue, of the bench?
Oh yeah, the benches. Yeah. So
I just texted you one, but you said you had others.
yeah. So as we were walking up the trail, there was this bench that looks like just be so easy to make. It looks like it's just made out of like a down tree or whatever, and they just kind of cut it in half and then cut notches in the side of it as a it was just like on the side of the trail as we were walking up to get to the water bar where we were going to work. And I just noticed it, and I thought it was just like a cool little thing that they probably just made like right on the spot, as just a place to sit and rest. And then interestingly enough, too, the next few days later, I was going riding my bike around the back of the high school, Norwood High, and I saw similar benches out in the back of Norwood High that I don't know if like they were made at Norwood High or if they just like were brought in, but similar looking benches that are just made out of like, you know, logs and these are out back by the picnic table at the cafeteria. So probably just like adding more outdoor seating at the high school during, you know, the pandemic and stuff. But I just thought it was an interesting design, and seeing almost the same design as what was on the trail and seeing it back here in Norwood in the location. That's that.
Okay, great.
Oh wait, did I share my screen? Did anyone see those?
No.
No one saw them? Oh my gosh, you guys should have told me. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm talking about pictures and I'm showing them and no one's seeing them.
It was a very vivid description.
Oh my gosh. All right. So here's the one that was at the high school. So these are the like the logs that were sewn in half at the high school. And let me go back to the oh, I guess I gotta pop it up again. The one at Blue Hills was just pretty similar looking. It was just on the side of the hill as I was coming up the hill. So this is the one at Blue Hills.
Like a big tree.
Yeah, so they just cut it in half and then use the pieces to be the, almost like putting a notch in it, and then it rests in the legs of it.
Okay.
But yeah, sorry about that. I thought you were seeing my screen. I'm talking while I was like, yeah, and then and then just literally a couple days later, seeing similar benches right at the back of Norwood High. Anyways, all right, sorry about that.
I'm going to,
Oh wait, was I not sharing that again too?
We saw the pictures of the benches.
yeah,
Okay.
okay, great. All right, cool. So, what else do we have? Just to get caught up, I did, I think at the last meeting, I had mentioned meeting with Holly Jones, a new town conservation agent. So we did, she and I took a walk around Endine. I invited her to join us at our next meeting. So I think it's October 13th. She's going to be joining us. She's excited I had given her some of the meeting agendas and outlines of things that we've done in the last year or so. And I did invite her to give us her priorities on where she thinks the trail committee should go. And I didn't get the words out of my mouth, but she was excited not to give us her priorities, but to hear our priorities. So again, in that respect, we all have homework for the next time. I did meet her a second time. We had a woman, unfortunately, all I can remember her first name is Brenda. I can't remember her last name, but she's from Westwood. She had petitioned the Conservation Commission if they would allow her to put in some geocache sites on the Endine. I think Brian, you might, and Craig and Patty, maybe you've had experience. I don't know, Kate, I don't know about you, but with geocaching, but it's kind of like orienteering, and it's a little bit more techie than like a scavenger hunt. But have you folks used that at all, geocaching?
Long time ago for me, I was involved with geocaching, and I'm talking like 15 years. So
Okay.
I mean, the game hasn't changed that much, but
Okay.
It's fun. You do need, well, most of the geocaches require you using a GPS to get you at least close to the coordinates, where typically there's a log book or some kind of the cache is in a bin. Usually there's a log book at the very least, and maybe some trinkets to trade off.
Yeah.
Like I said, I used to be more involved, but it's still around.
Yeah. Well, there are now active geocache sites. I think there might be 2 at the Endine, 1 at the Hawes. She also put out a couple at the Ellis Pond area. So she was excited. She said she always comes to visit Norwood, just like any good Westwood person. They always love to come to Norwood, and they're always welcome. But she is an avid geocache person, and she's helped us now literally get onto the map as far as geocaching is concerned. So getting back to Holly, she's going to join us in a couple of weeks, and so we'll all be ready to hear her introduction and just give her an idea of what we're up to. We also, Kate had brought up 2 meetings ago, the potential of getting in touch with PTAs in town. So I don't know if Kate, if you want to give us a quick Reader's Digest version of your thoughts there.
Yeah, I think we had talked about somebody who had a presentation that had been given previously. I don't remember who that was, but putting together just kind of a basic foundation for folks to take to the PTAs. And some folks had mentioned some different PTA groups or different schools at the elementary level that they would feel comfortable going and connecting with. And so I think, I'm happy to do several if some others can tackle one. And so kind of starting with that foundational material, and then I'm happy to, put it in a Google Drive so that it's easy for everyone to access, and then, we can tweak it as needed.
Okay. All right, great. And I think you mentioned the Willett and one of the school, the Oldham, was it, Kate?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, is it okay? I did want to come out of tonight's meeting with a couple of subcommittees. In the past, those seem to have worked. We'll do some work offline and then come back to the next meeting and just come up with present the findings of the subcommittee. Is it okay, Kate? And I know Masha Mata had also volunteered for that, but could I volunteer to work with you on that, like a subcommittee on that?
Definitely. Yeah.
Great, thanks. I did go to the Balsh about, I was looking through my emails, and there's a big gray cloud over this whole COVID period, and I couldn't find the emails that we traded, but I did attend, I think I mentioned, I did attend the Balsh PTA meeting about, it's got to be a year ago now, unfortunately, but time flies when you're having a great time. But if Kate, if I could put you and I on the spot, and we'll come back to the next meeting with an update.
Yeah, that's fine. My schedule, I can connect with you offline.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
I can always reach out to Cleveland if if the Cleveland's out of the loop too, because I was on the PTA at the Cleveland for what seemed like forever, but but I don't mind getting back to my roots at the Cleveland if no one else wanted the Cleveland.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're working for Kate, so that's
Okay.
great. Good. Thank you. Two other. Let's see. There's 3 other ones, I guess. I just wanted to put a plug in. I don't know if anybody's a Facebook, to what extent you're a Facebook fanatic, but Marie Duffy Kidd, who's active among many other ways. She's active with the Cleveland PTA. I think she still is PTO, but she's also, when she takes off that hat, she's also involved with a organization at the, and Kate, might know what this is. It's the Learning Center over by the Callahan School. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll find it in a second. But she has installed the next story walk is what they're described at, but it's basically pages out of a children's book that she has installed at the orchard. at the Endine up in the High Meadow. So it's basically, if you can look, you can either search for her name, Marie Duffy Kid. But there's a great description of what they're trying to accomplish. I'm on the site now. It says, hosted by Norwood Public Schools, CFCE, and the Poria Village Center. There's a great write-up. There's a couple of photos. But if anybody wants to, and I know Marguerite Krupp was working with Marie as well to try to identify some locations for this. But it's a great way to get to extend the outdoor classroom, and it's a great way to get kids, small kids. The name of the book that Marie chose to use at the Orchard is The Apple Pie Tree. So that's kind of appropriate. But if you have time, if you have the availability, hopefully the weather stays good. But it's a pretty interesting way to utilize some of the open space and get people more involved. So thank you to Marie. We wanted to talk about the Hennessy Field cleanup, which I think, Kate, that was your brainstorm as well with Masha. Also likewise. So I'm reporting back to you. I'll tell you what I've done so far, but maybe we can fine tune that. I would like to see if we can come up with a firm plan that we can publish tomorrow onto Facebook and other social media. Try to get some folks to come down and join us. We haven't finalized the time, but we do have clearance to host a community cleanup at the Hennessy Field this Saturday, the 26th of September. We do have approval from Town Hall and Segal Reese at the Board of Health, and Mark Ryan and the DPW are going to help us out with some supplies and to be available after the fact to scoop up any stuff or any debris that we come up with. Masha and Sue worked on some signs, almost like the campaign lawn sign size. So Masha ordered those and they're due to come in hopefully tomorrow, but Thursday at the very latest. I think she ordered 6 or 8. So we can just put those out into various places. There's a lot of dog walkers at Hennessy, and I did tell Mark Ryan specifically, and he's going to try to help us out there. But I did tell him we were on a mission to go on a glass hunt to try to scoop up any glass that we can get off that property. So I know Craig, you're and Patty, you're on that property all the time as well. So.
Yeah, they'll be there. Just tell us when.
Okay. Kate, Kate, what do you think?
In terms of what you want to put on Facebook, it's, it can be a simple message. I can help draft a paragraph that you want to put up. I'm not sure if we have a picture or something from, I'll say the archive, but that sounds really formal. But if you all have a photograph of any kind of cleanup that maybe has happened previously, something, people typically click on things that have images. So I can draft up a paragraph, Joe, send it to you. And then if you want to tweak it at all, feel free.
Okay. All right. Great. And between Craig and Patty and Jerry, you managed that cleanup a couple of years ago, didn't you?
I did the Oz Pool area. Vic did that.
So okay. But I'm sure, Craig, in your archives, I'm sure you have some cleanup photos. Do you think you have some?
Who?
Craig?
It
It doesn't have to be off the Hennessy, but
I'll have to. I'll look.
okay.
It can even be a shot of we'll call it a beauty shot of any of the trails, anything that looks particularly clean and pristine. That's what we're trying to make the Hennessy space. So if you can't find anything of a cleanup, that's okay. Don't dig, but finding something that would show the trails in good condition would be great too.
Oh, I've got plenty of those.
Okay.
A few thousand maybe.
No, I think I did a couple of pictures, so I just have to look back. Earth Day 2019, I think.
Earth Day would be great. I did Earth Day a few years ago, but I did it solo, so no one took any pictures of me.
They will. All right, great. Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. The only request, just from a planning standpoint, is there's a lot of competition Saturday morning. The hazardous waste day is Saturday, and that usually they run out of available capacity to accept things, usually around 11 or noon at the latest. And also we have Lee. I don't know. Lee is still with us. The food pantry goes until 11 or 11:30. So, is this something? Do we think we can do this Saturday afternoon?
I'm free all day, so I'm flexible.
Okay. All right. Great.
Yep. Morning or afternoon.
All right. Perfect. Just generally, everybody else think they're available to do this?
I'll have to check my schedule.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes I wish I had a social director too. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you all. This is good. This takes this weekend is the Neponset River Watershed has a cleanup every year. Although the Hennessy might have water somewhere way down below. We're not really by the water, but
Underground.
underground water. There's got to be a stream down there somewhere.
There's a culverted stream that goes right through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the culvert that actually backed up, and then Hennessy really did have water in August when the hospital was flooded.
Yes. Yeah. Bless you. Okay.
Joe, can I ask you a question, which
Yeah.
is, do we need to plan on bringing additional supplies, plastic bags, gloves? Should everyone plan to bring their own gloves? You know, are those types of things that we're recommending?
Yep. Good point. I think maybe we would want the public to bring, and especially these days with COVID, we do need to follow COVID guidelines. Everybody needs to bring a mask. You should bring your own gloves, bring your own water, and either bug spray or tick spray or whatever other protection you want to bring. Hopefully sunscreen, because it's supposed to be good weather. If people have, rake, shovel, anything, we're trying to accomplish a trash pickup, primarily trash and glass. The DPW is going to supply us with barrels and plastic bags. And I don't think I have a couple of pair of loppers just in case we need to bring those, and a couple of small saws, but we're not going into any lumbering exercise or anything like that. So I think if people want to bring a, whatever rake or shovel or whatever they'd like to do, that would be great. Not necessary, but helpful.
Sounds good.
Okay. So as long as everybody's okay, and I did see Fran is not available, but she'll be here in spirit, she says. Do you want to say like 1 or 1:30 or 2 o'clock? I think if we did it for like an hour and a half to 2, that might be good.
Okay.
Any of those times work for me. If anybody else has a specific time that works better, that we can go with that.
Can I say 1 o'clock, 1 to 3 p.m.?
Sure.
Perfect.
We'll meet at the low side at Murphy Field at the trailhead at 1 o'clock. All right, that would be great. Thank you. Thanks. The only other thing I wanted to, the other subcommittee I wanted to just throw this out there. I have spoken to Sue and Lee about the potential of submitting a community preservation application for next year's town meeting. So if people are familiar with it, the community preservation, the town approved the Community Preservation Act about 3 years ago. 3 years ago. And it's an available pool of funds that can be used for limited purposes, of which things like open space and trail cleanup and trail creation are available options. It could be as simple as using CPA money to build kiosks, or it might be as exciting as we're actually using CPA money. We've already used CPA money to buy the Saint Street lots. And part of that purchase money was set aside to actually do a trail design at the Saint Street lot. So Sue and Lee and I are going to try to come up with some available options that we could propose in the fall. The Community Preservation Committee they open their window for new business at the end of October into November. And anything that was presented during that time it's vetted by that committee, but it's ultimately, if approved by the CPC, they're proposed at May's town meeting. So if anybody wants to join us, if anybody has any ideas, this would be a project or projects that we could propose that the town would fund: trail improvements, signage, bridges. If those of you who went to the Meadow Street the other day, how that walk could have been better if improvements had been made. So, Jerry, did you have a thought there?
Well, I'm just sort of thinking about what you were just talking about. It seems like, is there I think it would be, it's a good idea. Maybe surfacing things that we could put down on the floor of the trails. That could be some sort of a common surface we use at all of our sites. I don't know what would be allowed. We have to go through the Conservation Commission. We have to go through anybody else to make sure that because we did this once and we had to pull everything back up. So I want to make sure we do it right this time.
Yep. Amen. Trial, we learned, certain people learned a lot the last time around. So, yep. So if you want to put, likewise, here's a homework assignment, but if anybody has any ideas on ways to improve any of the trails, it can be as easy as, collaborating with some other town. I'm just throwing this out there. We have not talked about it at all, but working with Walpole or Westwood or any of the surrounding towns on a joint effort that, if you think of like the Neponset, if we put a bridge across the Neponset, could benefit both Canton and Norwood. So and maybe even the trustees of the reservation. So that, it's joint efforts are approved. They're not only are they approved, but they're also looked on with favor as far as approval points are concerned. So, and that's about it. I'm going to be quiet over here. Maybe if we can, if anybody else have anything before we enter the lightning round of round robin.
I just have a question, Joe, on the
Yeah, sure.
on the surfacing that like they use at Blue Hills and they use over in Medfield, the shingle tabs. Those are the things we put down and we had to pull back up. Is there has there been any ruling on them? Can they be used again? Because we have a source right down the street here.
Right. There's really two answers, and obviously I'm going to use the word "it depends." Shingle tabs are not they're not allowed on conservation land. Those restrictions, and it's mostly in conjunction with the Wetland Protection Act.
Mhm.
So that's why the shingle tabs were not in favor and they had to be pulled back up again.
Yet they're at Rocky Woods and they're at Blue Hills.
Yep,
So,
yep.
yeah.
So it really depends which property. Do you remember where we had put those down, Jerry?
Yeah, we did the whole Endine
Okay.
Trail.
Yep.
We put them all down, the entire trail, and then we had to pull them back up.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but I don't, to be honest with you, I do know the answer to the conservation land, and the
Mhm.
answer is no. I don't know if that same answer applies to Hennessy and Shattuck Park, for instance. If you think those of you, if you're talking about conservation land, it is pretty restrictive. I think many of you have been on that new access path that goes from Nichols Street to the Ellis Pond. So initially they put down wood chips, which you think they come from Mother Nature, so why can't we just use them? But wood chips actually can be used on the trail, but they cannot be used within, I think it's 50 feet of the waterfront. So there is, there's all these little, and I certainly don't pretend to know all these, the intricacies of it, but there's all these rules and restrictions that we need to follow. So anything that we come up with, to your point, Jerry, anything, projects, proposals that we come up with, we would need to get approval from the governing body, whether it's the Conservation Commission or the Light Department or the Board of Selectmen. It depends which property we're talking about.
Okay.
But yeah, we need to do, obviously we're going to do what's right. But we do need to get a blessing from whoever manages the property beforehand. So, that's good. Anything else? I do want to make sure we go around the table. It's now about 8:10. I wanted to see if we can finish up by 8:30 and maybe take the next 20 minutes and just go around the table, as it were. I know Lee Leach, you were caller 02, I think. Are you still with us?
Yes, I am. I'm here, Joe.
Okay. Hello.
Oh,
Hello. Lee, do you have anything to add to our members minute moment here?
nothing in detail. I'm just, in general, I wanted to echo something that Craig touched on earlier, and that is the trails are very dry because we're basically in a drought. I've been on other trails and recently very, very dusty. So it's an opportunity where the trails are in decent shape for people to get out there without having to face the mud and a lot of the foliage that grows in isn't as bad in these conditions. So actually the trails are very, very nice to walk on, so long as they're not that dusty. Of course, you still have to be concerned if you're walking through grasslands, particularly for ticks. But that's about. I just wanted to echo that that Craig touched on earlier. So that's all I had.
Okay. Great. Thank you, sir. Kate, do you want to weigh in? Any suggestions? Any new brainstorming?
Not at the moment. Really focused on the Hennessy cleanup, and then I'm excited to talk to the PTAs while students are while it's still warm out, kind of pre-Halloween. So that's really what I've been thinking a lot about.
Okay, great. Thank you. Brian Palmatier?
Sure. As a matter of fact, I took note of the minute which says, come up with ways that you're willing to commit. So I came up with 3 different things. When asked, I'm perfectly happy to apply my graphic design or layout skills for things like trail marking or wayfinding. I'm also interested in any opportunities to add educational components to the trails, like anything related to nature, conservation, or historical significance. So if there's, somewhere that can be incorporated into wayfinding or trail marking, that'd be great. My second thing, I'm planning to keep taking photos with my family, when I go on trails either in Norwood or neighboring towns. And I'm committing to being better about sharing them with the committee and the town by extension. I'll get them to Joe, and then you can select which to share with the committee. And I have along the way taken particular notice of both good and bad examples of trail marking practices, which work and which don't. Just graphic design being my my thing in a lot of respects. And so that I just take note of like places where we've ended up going the wrong way because of a marker wasn't clear. There was no arrow on the marker. It was just there, like a street sign that didn't tell you what street it was going to. Things like that. And finally, as an Eagle Scout, I'm always open to invitations to work on Eagle projects and any other ways that Scouts can work on badges or be of service through the trails. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. When I get to my minute, I'll respond to at least 2 of those 3.
Okay.
So, great, thanks. Jerry Miller?
I have another hat that I wear right now. I'm part of the 150th anniversary. It's still a year and a half away, but there's going to be a multitude of different activities going on. So just might plant the seed of what we might want to be able to accomplish or host as the Trails Committee for the 100th anniversary, which is 2022.
Okay.
That meeting's Thursday, right? We have
Yeah,
something coming up Thursday.
There's a meeting Thursday for the steering committee, but they just the Trails Committee does as a whole might want to just think of just something that we might want to do. Would be nice if we had a few of these trails are marked and ready to go, and we could really showcase them then by saying as part of our portion of the 150th anniversary, we want to introduce this trail and that trail, and maybe co-sponsor with some groups that might want to maybe hold a cookout at the end or something like that. Just something that for the community to get involved with.
Okay, all right, great idea. That'll be here before you know it. Great, Sue Bodley?
I guess I didn't really think of anything, but I just listening to Jerry, that's a great idea. I'd love to be part of like any of that stuff that that is going on. And then just, I guess, a comment when we're always, every time we talk about like, the putting stuff down on trails and, making different surfaces and stuff, and just checking with like who owns the property. It's also like who, like, just to keep in mind too, who uses the property too. Like I know at Endine, it's the cross country course, the Norwood High cross country course. And, put around something that's, like shingles or things like that. I mean, you have to keep in mind too, the kids are running with spikes on, they want dirt. And so just keep in mind, like all the users of all the properties and not just like, what's best for like one group. Cause there's so many people using all the trails that it would be good to like, even though the schools don't own Endine, they do use it, and just keeping that in mind too. So just that. I know I kind of say it every time we talk about Endine, but my girls were cross country girls, and that was like a big deal for them, is that trail was very important to them. So anyways, okay, that's it.
Thanks for reminding me. That's good. I actually never thought of it because we did the shingle tabs, and so it was really it became hard if you're on other sites. I never even thought about what the effect it would have in the cross country. So we'll scratch that idea.
Well, it's something to keep in mind because like they had when we would host the Bay State Conference League, that it was kind of a showcase that we were the only town in the Bay State Conference that had a true cross country course that was all dirt and that was completely natural surface for the kids to run on. So they're pretty proud of it. And I think this year they're actually now in the Tri-Valley. They're going to be hosting the Tri-Valley League meet too this year. So that'll be great too.
Good, great.
Yeah.
It's possible I ran it. And when I was in high school, I was in Needham. That was part of the Bay State Conference at the time.
Yep.
Okay.
We would have run against Norwood South at that point.
That was junior
That
high.
trail is another great example of an Eagle Scout project. If you notice some of the markings and some of the signs that are around there, as well as some of the work that they did on that.
Yeah, no,
It
it
was
did
a
that. great.
Yeah.
There was a young man that's from a troop, and he lives in Norwood, but he's in a troop in Walpole, I think.
Okay. Good. Thank you, Fran. Rush?
Yep, I've been sort of absent all summer, but trying to get back into maybe put out a few more map brochures, maybe work with Craig again, maybe Peswick, maybe get a little bit of Meadow Street. That's about it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Excuse me. There is, you mentioned Peswick. I'm not sure if anybody has been there lately, but Peswick Park is a conservation area off Sumner Street, it's heading down, I think, Sumner Street, in towards Union Street, down in that direction away from Route 1. And they're currently, that Sumner Street is being ripped up for new water lines. So the limited parking at Peswick is even more limited. But there is if you just connect the dots, which I think is a lot of what we're trying to accomplish longer term, there is a good way to get from Sumner Street to all the way over to like Astor and Vanderbilt Ave. There are a couple of easements. As long as you kind of connect the dots, it's probably about a little over a mile round trip walk. So that you mentioned that one, Fran, that might be a good one to tackle next.
Okay, yep.
But that's great. Thank you. Thanks. Craig and Patty, you get any thoughts? Where should we go next?
Yeah. Well, in addition to the trails that we went on in Norwood, we went on Sharon. There's a network of trails from Lake Massapog on through, there's a place called Devil's Rock. That's in Sharon, and we walked that. It's a good example of pretty good signage, though at some places the signs are wearing or just plain really hard to read. So there could be some improvements. They also have a kind of a nature walk loop that's seen better days too. But on the whole, it's a good network of trails. Runs along Massapog Brook and goes by an area called Man's Pond, where there's an active dam and remnants of a mill there. We also, near Labor Day, went down to the F. Gilbert Hills State Forest. That's down in Foxborough and Rentham. And it's a really nice walk in the woods. There's an entrance off of Route 1. Kind of have to know it's there, but we entered from there and walked all the way to Foxborough Town Forest. There's a pond, and we walked around that and back. So it was a good 4-mile walk and varied landscape, and just, we hardly saw people there either that weekend, but it was like I said, a nice walk that first time I'd been there.
Okay, great. Patty?
I don't have a lot other than I've been taking full advantage of the trails in Norwood.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you. I think I've hit everybody. Getting back to Brian's point, I had mentioned this before. I probably won't be able to find his name right now, but we are working with yet another. We've been approached by another Boy Scout who wants to do an Eagle project. He lives close to Father Max, so I've given him 4 or 5 ideas on work projects that could be done in the Father Max / Senior Center area. One of them includes signage. There's also a new easement that goes from the Father Max soccer field all the way over to towards Silver Street. It crosses over a small seasonal stream, and I invited him to take a look at that. And I would think an Eagle project could build it. It's only like an 8 to 10 foot span over this little stream, but I think that without a lot of work, maybe some heavy lifting, but without a lot of work, I think an Eagle project could accomplish that, installing that bridge. I did also invite him to consider ways that could be of assistance to the senior center and the attendees of the senior center. So he's got a few different options. He and I are going to get back together again with his dad on the phone in the next couple of days and try to fine tune that list. So he's now the fourth. I think he's the fourth Eagle Scout candidate. So the more the merrier. We do have there is another Eagle Scout. Ryan Larson is scheduled to go in front of the Conservation Commission at their first October meeting. And he has proposed to put up some signage at the Endine. He lives up in that direction. So I think it's always good to be able to do something close to your home and be able to kind of look at it and take pride in it. So that's why I've tried to steer these, in this case, the young men, but it could be any volunteer who wants to step forward. You're more than welcome to do that. The other thing, Lee and I and Sue were talking about, there's a 10-mile road race coming up, a virtual road race coming up in October. Lee has, and it's open to the public, hosted by Charles River Running and Winged Foot. I don't know Winged Foot something, right, Sue? Isn't that their name?
Yeah, that's the organizer of all the races,
yep. Jim Henry. So, but one potential for that, and I did get it clarified that it doesn't have to be a run, which is really good for me. But there's a potential that we might do Lee's, what he dubbed as the farm to farm walk, which is an 8-mile walk in Walpole from Jarvis Farm up to Adams Farm. So, and then we'll just extend it a couple more miles. But so that's a possible walk coming up next month. And then finally, I was contacted over this past weekend by Julie Barber-Isa from the Progress Norwood group. And the last 2 years, the Trails Committee and Progress Norwood have co-hosted a walk at the Endine and Hawes areas right around Halloween. It was a dress up if you want kind of thing. I think last year, those of you who were there, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we probably had 50 to 60 people last year. Bunch of families, and it was a really good time. I think we might have gone out afterwards and rehydrated. Not the families, but at least a few of us. With COVID, obviously we would need to alter our approach. But I just wanted to throw it out there. Progress Norwood is interested to co-host it if we want to as well. So I don't know. I just wanted to throw that out there. Maybe that might take the place, or that might become the October walk, community walk. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Do people have interest in taking that on? It doesn't have to be at the Endine this year, but anybody have any ideas about that?
Worked pretty good last year.
Yeah. Craig, Sue, Brian, I think you were all there as well. Fran, I think everybody was there actually.
I think the Endine's good because you can have the little kids can kind of walk around the pond. The little bit older kids can do a little more. Like there's a lot of options at Endine for different loops. So
Yep.
It also has the ability, because sometimes families were coming down as their older siblings were playing soccer up right up on the top of the hill too. So.
Yep. Okay. All right. So is it okay if I work with Progress Norwood? We'd probably try to do it towards the end of October, maybe the last weekend in October. And I'll take that on and I'll report back to the group at our next meeting, if that's okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank
And
you.
I have the leftover bags from last year that we can give out too.
All right, great. Maybe one thing that people who attended last year can think of, if you remember, we had a couple of tents, and Ernie had a bunch of photos. I might be blending years, but Ernie brought a bunch of photos, and we had them clipped, and we had that big blow up townwide map, and it was a good chance. Norwood Community Media, Brian, I think you guys were there, which we really appreciate. But if you think of that, the before time, before COVID, and now what kind of things we would have to put in place that would allow for distancing. And, unfortunately, if you were in a group, you'd have to be in a group that was a family, a tight knit group or family or something. Otherwise you'd have to wear a mask the whole time. And, that's going to add that little twist to that kind of thing. But maybe if we can give that some thought between now and our next meeting.
We could take the idea of the PTA and does the book with it, where they have the book and along the path, like different stakes where you could stop and read the book. We could do something similar so that people are spaced out when they stop and look at pictures or something like that along the route, and do something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Have everyone gathered around a picture, but the pictures can be along the path and they could stop when they have a chance and space.
Okay. All right. Yep. Good idea.
Most of them were family groups anyways, Joe. They were all together in families.
Yes. Yeah. Which was great. I mean, if you think of it, a lot of our walks, if you just think of the Meadow Street walk the other day, I did see Sue's picture. I don't think, although we're one big happy family, I don't remember seeing any kids or family members in those photos. So this Progress Norwood, we appreciate anybody reaching out to us and proposing anything. The Progress Norwood walks are truly like a family affair. They're a family event. And it's a good one because it's, hopefully we can get it done before the weather turns bad. It's a good way to get out and get some fresh air.
But in the past, though, we've gathered everyone together, gave a little talk, and then had everyone go out together. But maybe because of the way things are now, it can be kind of like a show and go. Like as soon as you show up, your group goes, and then that would stagger people enough. And the information that we usually deliver in that talk can be along the path, like staggered. So
Yeah,
it's
okay.
kind of like when you show up, then you can start going in your family group together and stay separate from other family groups like that.
Yeah, sure. Good idea. Good.
Yep.
While we're getting pushy here, and this is, it's kind of coming together, but could I ask, maybe Fran, Craig, and Sue, if you could get together and update that map that, you all did last time, and just extend it up into the meadow, the high meadow to the orchard?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, great.
Yep.
If that would be good if we could get that done. I know, Fran and Craig, you had already incorporated the orchard in the map that's on the town website. But we had put together, Sue, I think, I use we a lot, but it's really you all. Sue, you had put together that four color map, four routes.
Yep, I can show it. I don't have control of the screen anymore. So.
Do you have it handy? I don't want to.
Yep,
Okay, hang on one sec.
I lost control of the screen though.
Oh my God. Okay, go for it.
That was the sign. I was going to show that when we were talking about the sign, but
Oh yeah. Yep.
I think this is the map you're talking about, right?
Yes. So if we can maybe, if you look at that, the bottom left, you can see that clearing, the clear green, that's the meadow. And this overhead view, it actually doesn't incorporate the orchard area.
No.
So maybe we could just grow the map. I'm sure that's easier said than done, but grow the view a little bit and then add the path that goes up to the orchard.
Yeah, sure. Because like I basically like made each loop and told them the distance and then what it was like so they could choose like based on the abilities of the walkers and stuff like that. So
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a great walk. I've actually loaded, I've uploaded that map to both of the heavily used Facebook groups as well, and I've got a lot of feedback on that. So, all right, good. So I'll come back to you all with a joint effort between Progress Norwood and Norwood Trails. So.
Now is that community walk map, is that on our Trails Committee website, or where do you find that?
Well, it's on Sue's hard drive.
Yeah.
It's on.
It's on Progress Norwood's site, I think.
Yeah, I think they put it on theirs.
Okay.
No.
So yeah, good point, Brian. I'm sure this is where you were headed, but so once we update this map, we can talk to Pat DeShanes or someone at Town Hall and ask him to upload this one as well to our Trails page. That would be good. That's good. Okay, great. Anybody have anything else to add? I think we should be good to go here.
Oh, these are the bags too. I forgot. I have the bags too.
Happy Halloween.
That's
Happy
what
Halloween.
we gave out last year.
Hopefully there is a Halloween this year,
I know.
whatever that means.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay. Mm-mm.
Everybody will
great.
be wearing masks either way.
Good point. That's right. All right. Our next scheduled meeting, well, I'll go sequentially. Our next event is a trail cleanup at the Hennessy Field. We're going to meet at 1 p.m. at the Murphy Field. That's Lenox Street. We're going to meet at 1 p.m. There is parking there. I believe there's a facilities, but I'm not 100% guaranteed about that.
Oh, man.
There's a porta potty.
And porta potty. I'm not sure if that's still out or not.
Yeah, if they stay there till October.
October. Okay. Really, really swanky upscale facilities. Let's see. So that's September 26th. Our next scheduled meeting is October 13th, Tuesday the 13th, and October the 27th, both at 7 p.m. And we'll put out an agenda ahead of time, and I'll practice my tech skills before then. Holly, among many other things, Holly Jones is going to join us at that meeting, and more to follow. So great. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn then.
Motion to adjourn.
Jerry, thank you. Thanks.
Okay.
Second, Sue Bartlett, thank you. Thanks. Thanks as always. Appreciate it. Thank you all. And
Do we
all
need
those
to
in
vote?
favor, all those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone who's truly opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. The ayes have it. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Norwood Community Media, thank you.
Thanks,
And
Brian.
we'll talk to you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.